how Reed Hastings became the undisputed king of streaming. Stick around to find out. This is a continuous improvement movement reserved for the few with the grit to prove it. Everybody claim, but the click exclusive. Many pursue, but it's too elusive.
Calvin Hastings has an impressive track record with Netflix. Let's start when they started their streaming service in 2007 and they had about 7 million subscribers. By now, they have over 300 million subscribers.
Wow.
They also spend about $17 billion a year in original content. And Netflix is worth up over $380 billion nowadays. Please tell me, what is Hastings' secret sauce?
Jeez, my mind is blown by some of those numbers. I might have heard them already, but just hearing them again, those are incredible stats. So, Reed Hastings, undisputed king of streaming. Maybe you can even say the inventor of streaming. Maybe, yeah. Can we say that?
Movies, yes, because they were ahead of their time when they started.
They really got the game started. So his secret sauce is, let me dig into my lean bag here, change management. And let me tell you why I say that. Number one, pivoting his business model, right? Reed, at an early stage, saw the success of Jeff Bezos and Amazon, who we also covered in the previous episode, and realized that e-commerce and internet commerce was the way to go. So they pivoted several times to take advantage of the internet as a powerful new tool. Number two, agility and flexibility. They face several major challenges, including the internet.com bubble burst, fierce competition from other players and other things like that. And they were able to navigate through those disruptions and still continue to have success in their business. And number three, foster a culture of innovation. This is a culture where experimentation is encouraged. They're a very innovative management model that we could talk more about in a moment. And also a culture of, hey, don't worry so much about failure as long as you learn from it. Look at it as a learning opportunity. So there you have it. Reed Hastings, the undisputed king of streaming, secret sauce, change management.
Thank you, Calvin. That is wonderful. And let's talk a little bit more about that time where they had to pivot. How did change management help them with those transitions?
So yeah, the internet was in its early stages, right? This was like the late 1990s, and it was a lot of people had dial-up at the time, and what they were Reed Hastings had exited his previous business, sold it for some
$750 million.
Ungodly amount of money, 750 mil. And I think they took like 2.5 mil or something like that and said, let's put it into a startup, right? He was a CEO, a CTO of this company, and then decided he's going to start his own. So kind of seeing, where the internet was going, how quickly it was taking off, and accepting that it was going to be a thing. A lot of people weren't there yet, but he's an early adopter of the internet and said, let's get into this e-commerce business, having people order online, and we're going to ship the product to their house. I think they started trying with cassette tapes, realized it was impossible to ship, and then VHS, again, impossible, and then kind of landed on DVDs.
And they didn't know if that was going to take, I remember, because at that time, like you mentioned, dial-up internet,
right?
And not many people had DVD players.
That too.
That's how early they started.
Exactly.
And I think we were some of the early adopters because we were getting the little red envelopes and we had the subscription.
Yeah.
You had the queue, and then when you return a movie, the incentive to return the movie was that you were going to get the next one.
Right. That's the thing. And you'll hear the kind of the Netflix startup story as being, Reed went to Blockbuster, racked up a enormous late fee, something like $40, got frustrated about it, and then started Netflix, and boom, it was an instant success. But that wasn't the case at all, really. And in fact, I don't know how much of that was even true. I think the real story is these guys were entrepreneurs looking for an opportunity, and then they realized that DVDs ship well in the mail, and they popped up a website, and it kind of went from there.
Mhm.
And it wasn't smooth sailing from there either. They had a lot of challenges to
Right,
overcome.
and then they went from the DVDs to the streaming. And
Right.
I'm sure you remember with the streaming, they decided to go to market with a very low $4.99 also.
Right.
$4.99 a month subscription fee. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
that I think that was the beginning of the whole subscription model too.
it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So another major innovation.
Major innovation, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So we did the streaming and then they started producing their own content.
Yeah. Right.
Now they're into a lot of stuff. They have the games and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Mhm.
production thing, you just mentioned something like 17 billion a year
17 billion
goes
a year.
into the production of, geez, these are inconceivable numbers. And yeah, Netflix is the pioneer.
All right, Calvin, let's talk a little bit more about agility and flexibility. Tell me more about Netflix journey in this area.
Yeah, so again, Netflix, I think Amazon started in like 96 and it was already showing a ton of promise. And Reed and his partner saw that and said, oh, well, we're going to get in the game too, right? They invested, they got going in 2001, I believe, is when the dot-com bubble burst.
Oh, yeah. Many companies failed and they almost had to close too.
They almost had to close too. And you got to understand when startup companies like this start out, they're making some money, but the cost is way higher than what they're making. So they're running at a loss. And they're running on investor fuel and startup, in this case, the founders' financial fuel to kind of give themselves enough time to get it figured out. So it took them a while. Dot-com bubble burst. All the investors pulled out. They were burning money fast. They're looking their team in the eye like, we're going to shut it down. And then the magic moment happened where things just kind of took off. And everything started coming back to them. So everything they had invested, dreamed about, ready to give up on, and hope for just kind of started happening. And that's the American tech startup dream right there.
I know.
Right?
And somewhere within that story, Amazon offered to buy them.
Right.
For like $16-17 million.
That's right. That's right. And I think that was really what inspired them to keep going. Like they were in the middle of
they were going to take it, but then Hastings decided to cancel, the deal in a drive. He was thinking about it and he's like, I can do so much more.
So I guess sometimes when you see users coming in and they're so happy, you realize you're sitting on something great, right? And 16-17 mil at that time is now what?
380 billion.
380 billion.
Yeah.
So he was right. Paid off.
It paid off. That's right. So let's move on to their culture because they are innovative not only in their business model, but their management systems.
It's true.
What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's a couple things, right? First of all, internally, they encourage a culture of innovation, right? Try, learn, fail, learn, try again, right? And continue to go, kind of traditional PDCA type of model. But they've got no policies, right? If you read the book, No Rules, the Netflix story, no vacation policy, right? No time off policy, no performance reviews, right? They've kind of taken some of these traditional management things and thrown them out the window and just kind of encourage people, hey, do what's in the best interest of the business, right? Do what you got to do, take care of yourself, but also take care of the business as if you were an owner. And that kind of gets people to think, hey, maybe I won't order the filet mignon when I go out for dinner on company business, right? On the company credit card. Maybe I'll order something more reasonable, right? And that allows us to reinvest back in the business and build a better company, right? Kind of think like an owner. And he's encouraged his employees to do that. And it's worked out great for him.
Yeah, I remember when that started, there was a huge scandal because there were people taking advantage, but the company took action right away and say, hey, this is not going to be tolerated. So the people that did that were let go.
I mean, it exemplifies a culture of freedom and responsibility, right? With freedom comes responsibility also. And not everybody is prepared to carry that level of responsibility. And it shows, right? To have that level of freedom also. And it doesn't work for everybody, but for those who it does work for, it's a great culture, and it creates a spirit of continuous improvement and kaizen, right, and growth as a company.
That's right. So there you have it. Reed Hastings' secret sauce is change management. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get better every day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. For daily news on operational excellence and how it relates to current events, check us out on the Ticket to Freedom podcast.
Simply subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date on the latest developments in continuous improvement.